Confronting my wife's affair unveiled heartbreaking truths about our marriage and my son's father. There are moments in life that shatter everything you believe in. Moments that leave you breathless, unable to comprehend how the very foundation of your world was built on deception. My life changed in an instant when I confronted my wife about her affair. What I thought would be a devastating betrayal turned into something even worse, something I never saw coming. For years, I had been a devoted husband, a loving father, a man who worked tirelessly to provide for his family. I thought my marriage was built on trust, on love, on the unbreakable bond of commitment. But I was wrong. The night I discovered her infidelity, I was not just betrayed as a husband, I was blindsided by a truth so cruel it stole the air from my lungs. The man she was with was not just her lover. He was the secret she had been keeping from me for over a decade. And when I finally learned the truth about my son's real father, my world came crashing down. And that was just the beginning. I met Olivia when we were both in college. She was beautiful, intelligent, and had a way of making me feel like the most important person in the world. From the moment we started dating, our relationship felt like a dream. We shared the same ambitions, the same values, and the same vision for the future. At least, that was what I believed. We got married young, right after graduation. I had just landed a stable job, and she was pursuing her career in marketing. Life was not perfect, but it was ours. We built a home together, celebrated milestones, and eventually, we welcomed our son, Ethan. I still remember the day he was born, Olivia's exhausted but radiant smile as she held him, the way his tiny fingers wrapped around mine. That was the moment I felt like my life had truly begun. For years, I devoted myself to my family. I worked long hours, saving up to give Olivia and Ethan the best life possible. I trusted Olivia completely. She was my partner, my best friend. Looking back, I realize now that I was blind. Our marriage seemed solid on the surface, but there were cracks I chose to ignore. Olivia became distant after Ethan turned 10. At first, I assumed it was stress from work. She often stayed late at the office, her phone glued to her hand, constantly messaging someone. I asked her about it, and she always reassured me with a tired smile, saying it was just a demanding client. The intimacy between us dwindled. She no longer reached for me at night, no longer whispered, "I love you" the way she used to. Her laughter, once effortless and warm, now felt rehearsed. I told myself it was just a phase. Every couple goes through rough patches, right? Then there were the subtle changes. Her new perfume, the way she started dressing up more often, the secrecy surrounding her phone. She became overly defensive when I asked innocent questions, and some nights, she came home smelling like cologne that was not mine. The doubt gnawed at me, but I ignored it. I did not want to believe my wife could be unfaithful. I convinced myself that I was imagining things, that my insecurities were playing tricks on me. I held on to the life we had built, refusing to acknowledge the signs. Until the night I found undeniable proof. It all started with a gut feeling I could not shake. Olivia's distant behavior, the late nights, and her constant texting had turned into a pattern I could no longer ignore. I wanted to believe that I was overthinking, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. One evening, while she was in the shower, I saw her phone light up on the nightstand. The message preview read, "I miss you too. Last night was incredible. Same time tomorrow?" My heart stopped. I stared at the screen, hoping, praying, that I had misread it. But as the screen darkened, so did my hope. My hands trembled as I picked up her phone, hesitating. We never had a reason to invade each other's privacy before, but now, I needed answers. She had a password on her phone, something she never had before. That alone confirmed my worst fears. I put the phone back down just as she stepped out of the bathroom. She smiled at me, but for the first time, I saw the deception behind it. That night, I could not sleep. My mind replayed everything over the past year. Her excuses, the nights she claimed to be working late, the change in her attitude. I needed proof. Real proof. The next day, I did something I never imagined myself doing. I hired a private investigator. A part of me felt guilty, but another part knew this was the only way to uncover the truth. Days passed, each one filled with growing tension. Olivia acted as if nothing had changed, but I could not look at her the same way anymore. A week later, I got the results. The investigator handed me a folder, his expression serious. I opened it with shaking hands, my heart pounding in my chest. There, in black and white, was the truth I had been avoiding. Photos of Olivia with another man. They were not just standing close. They were kissing, holding hands, laughing in ways she no longer did with me. And the man? He was not some stranger. He was her ex-boyfriend from college, Ryan. I stared at the pictures, my stomach twisting in knots. Ryan, the man she once told me was her past. The one she swore she had no feelings for. The one she cut ties with when we got engaged. It did not stop there. The investigator had tracked them to a hotel, documenting multiple visits. Olivia had not just betrayed me, she had been doing it for months, maybe longer. I felt sick. My marriage was a lie. But nothing could have prepared me for what came next. The weight of betrayal sat heavy on my chest, but I was not done uncovering the truth. If Olivia had lied about her faithfulness, what else had she hidden? I stared at the photos of her and Ryan, my mind spiraling. My thoughts drifted to our son, Ethan. He was 6 years old, smart, kind, and the light of my life. He looked a lot like Olivia, but now, for the first time, I questioned whether he looked like me. The idea was like poison, slowly seeping into my veins. I pushed it away, but it refused to leave. The timing of Olivia's pregnancy had always been suspicious. We had been married for only 2 months when she told me she was expecting. I was ecstatic then, but now, doubt gnawed at me. I needed to know. The next day, I bought a DNA test kit. I felt like a monster for even considering it, but the possibility that Ethan might not be mine tormented me. I took the test without Olivia knowing, swabbing Ethan's cheek while we played one afternoon. He giggled, thinking it was a silly game. I forced a smile, but inside I was breaking. A week later, the results arrived. My hands trembled as I opened the envelope. My breath caught in my throat as I read the words. Probability of paternity, 0%. I dropped the paper as if it had burned me. My vision blurred, and a ringing filled my ears. I read the words over and over again, hoping they would change, but they did not. Ethan was not my son. A sharp pain stabbed through my chest. The betrayal of Olivia's affair was devastating, but this was something else entirely. She had robbed me of my fatherhood. She had let me believe I was Ethan's dad for 6 years. She had stolen that bond from me. Rage, grief, and disbelief tangled inside me. I had spent countless sleepless nights holding Ethan when he had nightmares, teaching him to ride a bike, wiping his tears when he scraped his knees. None of it mattered now. I was not his father. I wanted to confront Olivia immediately, but I forced myself to be patient. I needed to plan. She had lied to me for years, manipulated me into raising another man's child, and I was not about to let her get away with it. That evening, I set the trap. I placed the DNA test results on our kitchen table, along with the photos of her and Ryan. Then I waited. When Olivia walked in, she barely spared me a glance before setting her purse down. "Hey," she said casually, pulling out her phone. I stayed silent, watching her. After a few seconds, she looked up, frowning at my expression. "What is wrong?" I nodded toward the table. "Take a look." She hesitated before walking over, her heels clicking against the floor. The moment her eyes landed on the photos, her face went pale. Her hands shook as she flipped through them. Then, her gaze shifted to the DNA test. For a moment, the room was silent. Then she whispered, "Where did you get this?" My voice was calm, too calm. "That is all you have to say?" Her eyes darted around, searching for an escape. I can explain." "Explain what?" "That you have been lying to me for years? That Ethan is not mine? That you have been sneaking around with Ryan while I work to provide for this family?" My voice cracked, anger and pain bleeding through. Tears welled in her eyes, but I did not care. I had spent years giving my love, my loyalty, and my trust to a woman who did not deserve it. "Please," she whispered. "I was going to tell you. I slammed my fist on the table, making her jump. When he turned 18. When I had invested my entire life in a lie." She sobbed, covering her face with her hands. But her tears meant nothing to me now. She had made her choices. I took a deep breath, regaining my composure. "You are going to pack your things and leave?" Her head snapped up. "What?" "You heard me. The house is in my name. You have no legal right to stay here." She shook her head, panic setting in. "No, you cannot do this." "What about Ethan?" I clenched my jaw. "Ethan is not mine." "You made sure of that?" Her sobs grew louder. "He loves you. You are the only father he has ever known." Those words cut deep, but I refused to waver. "You should have thought about that before you lied to me." I walked past her, grabbing my car keys. "By the way," I added coldly, "I already contacted a lawyer. I will make sure the world knows what kind of woman you are." Her face crumpled in despair, but I did not stay to watch. I had wasted enough time on her lies. It was time to take my life back. Leaving Olivia behind felt like ripping out a piece of my soul, but I knew I could not let my emotions cloud my judgment. My life had been built on lies, and now, I had to rebuild it on truth. The first step was legal action. I met with my lawyer the very next morning, determined to ensure Olivia faced the consequences of her deceit. The divorce process began immediately. Since the house was in my name and I had proof of her infidelity, she had no claim to anything. I refused to pay her a single cent in alimony. The most painful part was Ethan. He was innocent in all of this. He had no idea that the man he called Dad was not his biological father. As much as my heart ached, I needed to step back and decide what was best for both of us. I spent weeks in a haze of paperwork, legal meetings, and sleepless nights. Olivia fought at first, trying to manipulate me into staying, claiming we could fix this. But the moment she realized I would not budge, her true colors showed. She demanded money, threatened to take Ethan away, and even accused me of neglect. But my lawyer was prepared. With the DNA test, the affair evidence, and my consistent role as a provider, she had no case against me. One night, as I sat alone in my empty house, staring at the family photos I had yet to take down, my phone buzzed. It was Ryan, the last person I wanted to hear from. Against my better judgment, I answered. I guess you found out. His voice was smug, arrogant. I gritted my teeth. What do you want? I just thought you should know, Olivia never really loved you. She settled for you because I was not ready for a serious relationship back then. He chuckled. But now, she is back where she belongs. Something inside me snapped. You are welcome to her, I said coldly, because you will soon find out that she is nothing but a liar and a cheat. And when she does the same to you, do not call me. I hung up before he could reply. Days passed, then weeks. Olivia moved in with Ryan, but their bliss was short-lived. She was used to stability, a home, and a responsible husband. Ryan was none of those things. He was reckless, jobless, and immature. Their relationship started to crumble. Meanwhile, I focused on myself. I went to therapy, started working out again, and spent time with friends I had neglected during my marriage. I reconnected with my family, who had always suspected something was off about Olivia but never interfered. The hardest part, though, was Ethan. He was too young to understand the complexity of the situation. He cried when Olivia moved him out, begging me to come with him. My heart shattered, but I knew I had to stay strong. I promised myself that no matter what, I would be there for him if he ever needed me. Months passed, and the divorce was finalized. Olivia had nothing left, no house, no financial security, and no happy ending. Ryan cheated on her just as I had predicted. She tried to reach out to me, desperate and regretful, but I ignored every message. I was no longer the man who had been fooled. I had taken back control of my life. One evening, I received an unexpected call. It was Olivia's sister, Julia. I thought you should know, she said softly. Olivia is struggling. Ryan left her, and she has no place to go. I felt no sympathy. That is her problem. Julia sighed. I get it. But Ethan is suffering too. He keeps asking about you. That hit me harder than I expected. Ethan was innocent. No matter whose DNA ran through his veins, I had been his father in every way that mattered. That weekend, I met with Ethan at a park. His little face lit up when he saw me, and he ran straight into my arms. I held him tightly, knowing in that moment that biology did not define love. From then on, I became a stable presence in his life. Olivia had to watch from the sidelines as I built a better future without her. She had made her choices. And I had made mine. I chose to heal. I chose to move on. I chose to be the man I was meant to be. And I never looked back. What do you think about this story? Have you ever experienced betrayal or had to rebuild your life after heartbreak? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so you never miss an update.